Hello, everybody. Welcome. Alan Robson with you, and I am not alone. I very nearly was, but I'm not. For with me is Hollywood McShane, our
Evening.
producer and the man behind the scene, pulling the strings. The puppet meister is with us tonight. Kenny is actually making a living this evening, so well done to him, but sadly can't be with us. And first of all, I want to apologize for Wednesday for most of you. Now, we've had behind the scenes kind of a week from hell. And Wednesday, do you know when you have one of those days where literally everything you touch just turns to brown, claggy stuff that drips through your fingers? It was one of those kind of days. First of all, the day before, my vehicle got reversed into by a farm tractor trailer, and 6 months of work in cost disappeared. Horrific. So it has subsequently been repaired. Body work, 3 days, horrific. Just the whole thing was in the middle of doing the kind of stuff that we do, which means traveling all over the place. It was a hell of a thing to happen. Then, of course, we traveled off to see Temple, high on a hill in a mountain on the way to Cumbria. Amazing, fantastic. And we got there super early because it was a long way and we'd never been and I couldn't find much about it. So we got there early to do our due diligence, only to find that about 15 minutes before I got there, I received a phone call saying, "Oh, you can't climb up that mountain now. It's been raining for 4 days. It's far too dangerous." And then on planning to do it as a live show tonight, we discovered today that the person who owns the land doesn't want us there. And the guy made a whole load of promises. And with the best will in the world, he wanted us to do a show from there. Hadn't even thought to ask the person who owned the land at the place. It's like one thing after another, after another, after another. Also, last week, we wouldn't have had Kenny with us because Kenny had some personal issues that he had to take care of. So it was like, we've lost Kenny. Oh, I've lost the car. Oh, let's go there. I'll get a lift. Don't worry. It was one thing after another. However, there are always a zillion more people that have it worse than we do. It costs us a show, which is why we're doing a live one for you tonight to try and make up for you with a whole lot of clips and bits and pieces and an awful lot of subjects that you've raised, that you've actually brought to our attention. And the first one is actually, I think, kind of interesting. It's about a place that was all put together in 1446. It's a castle, a huge piece of rock was given by a man called Cormac McCarthy by a man called Robert the Bruce. Now, I know we've talked a bit of history before because we do a lot of ghosty stuff, but an awful lot of history too. Robert the Bruce was Robert de Bru. He was French. And I know the Scots loved him, but the Scots were staunch allies to the French. They wanted to take over England between them back in the day. So Robert the Bruce handed this stone to the man called Cormac. And Tony, it's actually a place that you and I went to. And again, a guy called Anthony said, "Oh, you want to go to Blarney Castle and kiss the Blarney stone." Now, I haven't kissed the Blarney stone, but I know a man who has.
I have got the photo to prove it. I don't know where it is, but...
No, I've got one as well. The one that we got some photographs taken of Tony kissing it. And it's like two blokes have a hold of Tony, one leg each. And this is before and if you go to Blarney Castle now, it's outskirts of Cork. There's a cage on the bottom, so you can't fall to your death. Yep. But when we were there actually was no cage. So you got two men, so that if one dropped you, the other one would catch you. This is Irish logic. So you had one man holding one of Tony's legs, another one holding another of Tony's legs, Tony upside down, hanging over this precipice that would fall probably 50 feet to your death with rocks and stuff beneath it. and a couple of photographs were taken. And one of them, I've never seen Tony look more sickly in all my life.
Upside down.
Don't show anybody that photo. Don't ever show. But I've got it somewhere, and if I find it, it's the equivalent of the Kenny and I photograph of us skinny dipping in Loch Ness. It's one of those. But the interesting thing is, it was said that it was given to him by Robert the Bruce, to this Cormac character, for all of his help with Bannockburn. You know, the Battle of Bannockburn, where the Scots were victorious. Now, I've looked into the history, and this tells you everything you need to know about how flexible history can be, because Bannockburn happened 18 years after Robert the Bruce gave them the stone. The stone had been in the castle for 18 years. So how could you give it as a gift for help with Bannockburn when you'd had the stone for 18 years before that? So I think they're just moving history around to suit the story rather than the truth. But the stone has been kissed. And I remember after Tony kissed it and we're walking away, Robert the Bryce, great bit of history. He loved his brew ale. Thank you, Brian. And who wouldn't? I was watching, what was the, it was one of the Taken, you know, the Liam Neeson, Taken 1, Taken 2, Taken 3. In one of those, he's in a cash and carry, like a booze bandits or whatever. And right in the center of the fight scene is a huge plaque saying Newcastle Brown Ale, which, again, being a Northerner, proud and true, just made me feel just great. Anything that plugs our patch is tremendous. So we've got a few photos as well that we'll share with you a little bit later on about something that Kenny and I talked about, which is the oldest skeleton ever found on Earth. Now, when I was chatting to Kenny about it, Kenny said, how old would the oldest skeleton be? And he says, could it be 50,000 years or 100,000 years? It's in the millions. So everything we've ever been taught at school and college and what have you about how long human beings have been on this planet has not been correct in the most part. And I'm going to tell you the absolute oldest one, because the skeleton I've got a photograph of with Tony is not the oldest. It's about the second or third oldest. So that's pretty special. But let's get into what we do. Now, the Blarney is normally, we talk about what we did the week before. This isn't a blah. So we're going to have all kinds of different topics. If you want to talk to me, you absolutely can. Tony will put the telephone number
along. The number. Just message or WhatsApp, and then I'll call you back.
So just finally, on the Blarney stone for Anthony, who asked about it, when Tony and I were walking out of Blarney Castle after recording a few bits for the show we were going to put out live from Ireland that night, one of the lads was saying, the first thing we all do in the morning before people come and kiss the Blarney stone is we all, they said piss on it, but they all wee on the Blarney stone. So if anybody comes back from kissing the Blarney stone and you've got a bit of a herp here in there, or maybe just a really fresh taste in your mouth, because urine is, of course, a cleansing agent, you have to remember. You could argue they were doing you a favor. I don't even know whether that's true, but maybe they just said it to make Tony feel good about it, or not.
Well, it was afternoon, so lots of people would have kissed it before me that day.
So you'd have just got old wee rather than fresh wee. Fair enough. But let's kick off. Now, we did the motorcycles, and I must say I have many a page of people sending in messages and asking questions and bits and pieces. We're going to go through all of them tonight, but we've got quite a few clips that we're going to be showing you across tonight as well. So we're going to start off with our trip to Morpeth motorcycles. Now, we'd done a grizzly trail of Morpeth that you guys loved, because we hadn't done a fully fledged grizzly trail for a while. And even for people like myself who once lived in Morpeth, and then Kenny knows Morpeth well. So do you, Tony. You've been to Morpeth a good few times.
I worked at the leisure centre at one point.
What were you doing there?
A lifeguard, and I taught swimming when I left school, just for a bit. But yeah, I worked there for a little bit. It's probably the same as it was back then.
Yeah, well, they've moved the leisure centre now. They're moving the leisure.
Oh yeah,
centre.
they've moved it around the corner, so
it's around the other side of the street now. But with respect to everything that we did know, an awful lot of people who live in Morpeth and have worked in Morpeth all their lives saw the show and they kind of went, "How come we don't know this stuff?" And it's something that I've always argued for. You know how they put blue plaques. John Lennon lived here, you know, in Merseyside, and we've got a few blue plaques kicking around. We have the kind of history where we should have a hell of a lot more, and it makes it more interesting. You can have all of these trails can be carried out by any one of you. And I know there's a few notes here from people saying, as soon as you go somewhere, we're already planning. How can we get there next week? Let's have a day where we go somewhere completely different, but a place that's got a few cool stories attached to it. And they get all their photographs and their selfies next to all of the places where we've been. And I love all of that. But we ended up having been, and this has happened a few times, we go to a place, do a general overlook at the ghost stories, myths, legends, history of a place. And then somebody will say, "Oh, I heard you were in," and it was Morpeth. And we talked about the motorcycle shop. Got a message from Darren, who works there, saying, "Yeah, we got a ghost. We got someone in here that keeps saying hello to us." And we've all heard this male voice saying hello. What's it all about? Well, we went to the motorbike store, and for the third occasion, because the Necromancer has been, it's our little ghost speaky spirit box type gadget, and we've used it a lot, and we've had a few really interesting dealings with it. But all of a sudden, it started to give distinct information. Names, ages, times, places, where people lived. And these are all of people that I could not possibly have known about. We're going to be looking a little bit later at the Nicky Knack, the Lansdale Arms, where the Lansdowne Arms, I beg your pardon, in Cox.
The Daleside Arms.
Croxdale. Daleside Arms, Croxdale, I beg your pardon. The Daleside Arms used to be called the Nicky Knack, and everybody knows it still is the Nicky Knack. And when we were in there, we got to find the name of someone, not a previous landlord, nobody that was connected with the bar, other than he ran a country club, like a country music club, one night of the week. And he died years ago. There's no way that we could have known anything about it, but we got his name, we got his wife, we got his children, we got his grandchildren, we got where he lived, we got what he did. It was completely on the nose. And ever since we did the Canon in Ursden, and then we got asked back twice to Ursden to want to do the Canon, want to do the Hall. Ever since then, the Necromancer has just come good with stuff. So we took that and we visited Morpeth motorcycles. But the interesting thing is, in what a lot of you guys end up not seeing, a lot of you, if you're a supporter, you will watch the rough mix, which is when we do it live. And that's on a Wednesday night every week. And of course, you see the edited version on a Sunday. If you watched on a Sunday, you see all of the bits that Kenny records on his night vision camera that is on his chest when it's not catching the sky, when he's got it on his shoulder, which has happened. And this is a little bit of footage that we got of Kenny going into one of the rooms on his own. And we'd had a few bangs and bumps. We'd had a little bit of necromancing that was amazing, because we got somebody that I'd never heard of that had nothing at all to do with motorcycles, and we got his name and all that. So we got a lot of really very cool stuff. But the majority of you will not have seen what happened to Kenny when he went off for a shufty on his own. Here it comes.
Yeah, that was through here.
100%.
That was through here. Come on then. Come on, if you're in here. If you are in here, push something. Push a can off the shelf. If you can push a can off the shelf, if you use your energy, we're not here to harm you, we're not here to hurt you. If you've got a message for someone, then it gives us an idea that you want to give that message into the real world. Just push something. Push a can. Push a can off. Move on the helmets. Move something in here. Make a noise in here. Just any kind of noise so I know that you're here. Any kind of noise. Jesus! Okay, that was behind me. Right. That was here. Was that you? Right, there's nothing on the floor. Right, I can hear a can rocking. Which one is it? Right. Okay, I got that. I'll have that on my camera as well, definitely. Okay, that was here. There's nothing on the floor. There's nothing on the floor. There's nothing moved. Right, so are you in here? Are you in here? Oh, my heart's gone. That's it. Okay. Right. Definitely something here. Yeah, I can hear that as well. Okay. Okay. Anything here? Darren, I know you're not supposed to be part of that, but did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. Did something hit the floor?
There's nothing on the floor.
It sounded like...
That's what I thought.
hit the floor.
That's exactly what I thought. Oh, man. Your hair's standing up again. Right. There is nothing on the floor. Definitely nothing on the floor. No. No. Right, I've just seen an orb as well. Even with my naked eye I saw an orb there, so my camera would have got it. There, and again, just there, directly in front of me. I think we're targeting the wrong place here, you know. Look at that. Look at that. There. Right. That was definitely a noise. There was definitely an orb. This is strange. Because there's nothing normally happens in there, you said? There's definitely a noise there.
Yeah.
There's nothing on the floor. I've looked
I heard
everywhere.
at least 3 noises there.
Yeah, and I've got my camera on here.
Yeah.
There's nothing on the floor. I've checked everywhere.
It definitely sounded like something was dropped off.
I'd said move a can.
All right.
I'd said move a can or push a can off the shelf. But there's
That's
nothing
why
on the
the
floor.
noise.
But there's nothing on the floor.
Strange, yeah. I definitely heard it, didn't you?
Have you looked at CCTV in there?
Haven't.
Because it would have.
We haven't getting around to that.
But
one
nothing
yet.
went down the floor, so you wouldn't see it anywhere. There's nothing on the floor. Nothing on the floor. That was weird.
Very strange.
I saw
I
an
heard
orb.
it, yeah.
Definitely saw an orb.
I definitely heard it, yeah.
Yeah, I heard it.
Well,
I was
before
right
you
next to
went
it.
in the first
Yeah,
noise.
I was right next to it. And then there was like an orb thing went up. Like a
Right.
little orb thing. I saw it with my naked eye, so this
Yeah.
would have picked it up.
Well, that's where the Undertaker was in there.
Just in there.
Through there. Yeah.
I think we need to do stuff in there, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
This is
the interesting thing
Right.
about the whole place, hang on, over talking there. The thing about the space was interesting because through one wall there used to be a funeral directors, which is wild, and along the other side they had rooms that have all kinds of different and weird histories. But you know, the laying out parlor from the funeral home. So there was an awful lot of stuff there. And Darren heard three noises while Kenny was in there. Kenny heard one. But the interesting thing is, if something had been dropped, it's on the floor. Now, that sounded like something big, something solid being moved. And the amount of times that we've been in places and things have been dropped. Now, I know there are many skeptics out there, and that's absolutely fine. You keep being a skeptic. That's cool. Happy with that, because one day you'll get the shock that I did, because I was the world's biggest skeptic too. And then all of a sudden you see something that you can't explain and you can't put it down to being anything else. And then you have to reevaluate everything that you've ever thought about this kind of stuff. But it was interesting. And while we were there, we found out about a gentleman who, someone who'd been to the kitchen, who worked in the kitchen there, had been to this man's funeral. I mean, how could we even find anything out about someone who'd been to a funeral of somebody and that person came through telling me about his motor scooter and the motorbike that he rides now and how he's died and what he died of? And we got amazing stuff in the place. And of course, when we were using the rods, we were getting a whole host of stuff too. But it's fascinating. Now, Tony, can you come back on just for a second? Because I noticed on our stream of questions and stuff coming in, somebody asked about something that came on this week. And I see we're getting a lot of them. You'll have to go through them a bit later on to ask me about all of them.
I've got a few now if you want to have a look.
Yeah, let's do it.
Could
Go
be
for
some of these.
Love your ghostly stories. Listened to you since I was very young. Always looked forward to your ghost shows. Scary Christmas and Halloween. Really scary. Thank you for entertaining me for so long. Torio, you're more than welcome. There's Sean. Hey, everyone. Sending blessings to you all. For the team, if anyone's reading this, and we are, oh, bearded man, I've just shaved mine off today and I'm regretting it already. Anyway, there you go. See, because I could have looked like him, except mine's kind of grey ginger. It doesn't have the same impact as Roughy Tufty there. Can you go back to him? Sorry, because the last one, Tony, please. Have you thought about doing Marston Moor just outside York, the famous Civil War battle site? Now, I read Sean's original text, and it involved a few other things too. Yes, we have, and there's supposed to be people that have heard the clashing of steel against steel and all of that. And Sean, if it's the same one that I believe it was, asked in the week that the radio station changed its name, and we were such a big, Tony and I were such a part of it over the years. All I'll say is, and I have to be completely, this is it. Beg your pardon. It was Gary Jerry. Hope you don't mind me tagging Night Owls on Twitter. Just wondered, with the imminent change of name, whether you had any final words on the final days of Metro Radio where you reigned so long. I reigned a while and I drizzled on occasion as well, but I liked reigning better. Tony and I were part of it, as you know, for the longest time. And I just think the whole thing is sad, but it's been sad for too long now that I'm generally been kind of over it. There's an OJ's song about it. You've got to look up OJ's song. It was a big hit in America, not so big here, but it sums up everything you need to know about the situation with me. However, I had the best time. I loved my time because I was with you guys and we got away with murder for as long as we possibly could. And then eventually pound notes got in the way. We were taken over a couple of times and we managed to kind of ride it out and do it our way. And then it came down to, well, it would be much cheaper if we let somebody who's in another part of the country do it. We could do it. We could do the whole country just from one tiny little studio, and we could get rid of everybody else. And they did. And local radio died. And it's been struggling for the longest time with just the odd show done in the Northeast and the vast majority not. And when something that was so integral to so many people is taken away, you do feel robbed, because it was part of our life. Not imagine me, I mean, a huge part of my life, but it was such a big and important part of an awful lot of lives around the Northeast. And I love being useful to you all and helping where I could and entertaining when I couldn't. And Tony and I we went all over the world together doing all kinds of weird and wonderful things, and we had a ball. And late at night, there's never any bosses there, so we got away with murder till the very end. Do you have any thoughts, Tor?
Well, it is sad. I think it changes its name from Metro to the Hits on Wednesday. So it's just, yeah, it's like, it's part of people's grown up, isn't it? So,
it was it was people's heritage. It was like people who lived in the Northeast supported their football team with passion.
Yeah.
Excuse me, wherever that was. They ate stoddy cakes. They drank maybe a bit more than they should. They were always game for a laugh, and they listened to Night Owls.
Everyone in the Northeast knows the name Night Owls and have listened to it at some point in their life and listened to it on Metro. And
yeah,
it's
just
why wipe out history when it's it's the biggest asset they had.
My personal belief has always been that local people want to hear what's happening in their locality. And the amount of times when I'm driving around the country and I'm hearing someone say about the weather, and it's nearly always the weather that irritates. I was driving up through Scotland in about 1.5 feet of snow going through the Cairngorm National Park, not knowing where the road was. It was white out. And I'm hearing this guy on a radio station saying, "It's a beautiful day today. The sun's out. It's really surprising for this time of year." And he's telling everybody in the whole country that the weather's lovely, when in 90% of the country, it wasn't like where he was doing the show. And I hate that. And all the spontaneity disappears, because if something happens like an accident or a shooting or a whatever, you can tell people immediately, but not if you're not local. If you're national, you'll have to wait till the news on the hour or 3 hours later, depending on what's on. I just think they've really missed a trick. But anyway, hey, on to the future. There's lots of
podcasts on YouTube. The final Night Owls, 4 hours long. It's all on YouTube with loads of clips, best bits, celebrity interviews. There's loads. So
there's a lot of stuff there. And of course, if you get caught short, if you want new stuff, we got Robson's World as well. I'll tell you a little bit about some of that later on. But anyway, let's get on to our next
questions, if you like.
Well, yeah, let's do a few then. Have you done a ghost hunt in a prison? Not a working prison, it has to be said, although I have been to a prison on 2 occasions to interview killers. With respect,
been to a few cells,
cells
like
everywhere.
Old cells we've been in. So
yeah, we were in some cells fairly recently in Middlesbrough.
Middlesbrough, yeah, and in Belfast, weren't we?
Crumlin Road Jail, yes. And there's one. It's interesting. Crumlin's interesting because down one avenue in the jail, they say this is where the ghost can be seen. And they've tried to actually cheat a ghost at the end of the corridor, but they've done it really well. It's just, you get a glimpse of light and it just catches on something white. And it does this about once every 40, 50 minutes. So if you stand there and wait for it to happen again, it doesn't. But about every 50 minutes, somebody will go, "Oh, I've just seen It's very clever, but it's a setup, but it's a clever one. And, credit where credit's due, because a lot of people go to old prisons and castles and stately homes, and they expect it to be like Ghostbusters. They expect to see phantasms in all directions. And the reality of hunting stuff, as you guys know as well as anybody, it isn't really like that. What's your next one, Tom?
Sorry, just reading them as we go. Ooh, there.
What's your thoughts on the Anunnaki? We've done a series of shows on that, Alien Jesus and that whole swathe. We talk about them. We talk about where they're supposed to be from. I, for a long time, didn't believe in ghosts. Not at all. Thought it was all fake and false. And then you see stuff that you can't disprove. And since then, it's become an obsession with me to see and find, to discount 95% of everything, as I always say. But I've seen a lot of that 5%. And it's amazing. And I thought, I'm not going to get sucked into believing in little green men. And then you look at our world history. What evidence is there that people from other places other than Earth have existed and have lived and have traveled to and impacted the planet? And I'm completely convinced that we've been visited. Completely. From the things that I've seen and the places we've been, I can't put it any clearer than that. Absolutely. It may have been a long time ago, but I look through history and you see this 2 or 3 moments in time, one around the time of the Romans, where all of a sudden technology moved from next to nothing to like hundreds of new ideas. And then in the Renaissance, around the time of Da Vinci, all of a sudden, it was almost like someone was helping and with a guiding hand. And all of a sudden, technology improved and increased. And then around the late 1800s, amazing increases in technology. And then the 1950s, even more outrageous. And maybe because it was being reverse engineered by those scientists that we had back in those days. And they're still working on stuff now that they claim came from vehicles and crafts that we found that have crash landed onto this planet. And the fact that now we're getting people on NASA saying, well, of course there's aliens, of course there's UFOs coming from other worlds, of course they're trying to get us ready for the big hit, and the big hit will come. I've got no doubt it's on its way, and I'm not surprised. I've seen so much stuff that couldn't have any other explanation than just look throughout history. Look at ancient. Well, I've got some pictures that Tony's got.
I've got a few videos of UFOs. Yeah.
Oh, well, let's get into the UFO thing now then, while we're on, because you've got a couple of fresh UFO sightings that you've got video of. So let's go through.
I'll just have to get them ready because I didn't have that one next.
That's okay. What I can do is give you just a few hellos and what have you on the.
I've sent you a couple of messages via WhatsApp as well, which I forwarded on.
Oh, hang on a second. Am I being told off for something?
They're a bit too long to put on the screen, that's all.
Oh, I understand. Oh, hang on. Yes, they are indeed. Right. Oh, here's the first one. Don't know who it's from. Listen to you in the early 80s while at school in Reckington. I now live in Dubai, still a fan. Hot and Heavy Express was a thing, especially the gigs. Usually for me, Durham Students' Union, Corkin, Slade with the Hells Angels. Brilliant. Happy and innocent days. Well, we got away with as much as we could, mate, but hope you're having a nice time in Dubai. Hi, Alan and team. Just a quick message. Have you ever been to Marston Moor? Each time we investigate, we get musket fire, drums playing, shadow figures. I find it more atmospheric during the late summer months when the sun's setting. Locals that are interviewed in the neighbouring farms, they've all seen strange soldier-like figures, royalists, round heads, and allegedly there's a mass grave of thousands as the battle was said to be one of the bloodiest battles on English soil. Always found it interesting. There is a monument to all the fallen. I know you've recently done York. Might be worth heading up to Marston Moor. Steeped in legend and history. Love the show. Been listening to you for years. Sorry it took me so long to find you on YouTube. Finally here now and a subscriber. To you and your team, stay safe. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much indeed. And I hope one day all subscribers could come along to an investigation. I've investigated the paranormal for 20 years on and off. I'm fascinated. I'm a skeptic believer. Only ever seen one true definite ghost, but I've had a lot of strange paranormal phenomena experiences. I've worked with a few people from the Northeast, so you could say I've got paranormal in the blood. Really enjoy your work. Keep working hard in the place. Build up your good following. Stay safe and healthy. And the motorcycles, there you go. About the Morpeth motorcycles and the voice of Joe coming through on the Necromancer. I knew Joe Farry very well. He was a member of the Badlanders Motorcycle Club. He was a very prominent figure in the biking fraternity, doing a lot for charity, and was very, very, in capitals, well respected by the Hells Angels Tyne chapter. He had a shop on Westgate Road selling bike accessories and clothing. At the time, I was a member of the Bogeymen from Sunderland. Rest in peace, Joe. I'd never heard of him, and I'm not in the motorcycle fraternity, but it was when we kind of hit a roll, didn't we, Tony, with the Necromancer, where we were getting stuff.
Well, it's you. I think it's you. It's spirits are warming more to you, maybe. Or they want to give more away or something. It's
I don't know what it is, but it was really odd, because the first time it happened was the first time in my life, and remember, I've been doing this for a lot of years, that I actually felt as if I could see this fella.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see him in the pub, was the weird thing. I kind of got an idea that, he wears open top cardi. He's got his hair with a little side parting. He's a happy looking fella. He complains about his feet. No idea where it came from. Not a clue. But ever since then, we've had just amazing necromancing, and it's just a gadget. But if things seem to want to be able to use it, and have been. But anyway, Tony, these UFOs, what the hell are they then?
Right, this is caught on radar, and they track all the planes, and it's shooting through the sky, so it's
okay. It's faster than an aeroplane would be.
Yeah. Where is it? Add to stage. There it is. I'll put it full screen.
Yeah, do. See the speed of the aeroplanes in comparison.
I know, that's just amazing. It's a genuine.
It's a radar,
yeah.
anomaly. You see all the people going on the holidays not totally aware that there's... Look at that. Look at the speed of it.
And nothing can go that fast on a radar.
Not conventionally, no.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, those aeroplanes are traveling and they look like they're standing still, but they're traveling at something like 200 miles an hour. And it's traveling down southern France. There's Provence as it's going over the top of. Oh, you see that? Do you see it do a shuffle back and forth?
Yeah.
So it's not just, because I first thought but it's not going in a straight line. They had stopped there briefly and moved.
Might be looking for something.
How amazing is that? Traveling at that kind of speed, it could go around the world in like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour. Passing another aeroplane, it's such a speed that it makes the aeroplane look like it's standing still. That is amazing.
What could it be? But it's just a little bit smaller than an aeroplane.
Look at that. That's the reality of the skies above our... Look at that.
I know. Crazy, isn't it?
Terrifying, isn't it? So where's it going? North Africa. I'm guessing. Yeah. But you see how quickly it got from Europe to North Africa.
I know.
We've been talking for like a minute, 2 minutes tops.
Imagine if you could travel on holiday that fast.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. And for all those people that have traveled to North America on those airlines that you're seeing, your aeroplane was buzzed by a UFO.
Amazing that.
How about that? You said you had two, Tony. What was the other one?
I'll have to go and get the other one. It's on a different.
That's all right.
page.
Leave it with me because, as I say, I've got a few other things here too. Rye's Slee, 15 years ago, Rye's mum left us. And Rye, I saw what you wrote and I was touched by it. But your mum's still alive, Rye. The thing you don't understand is that she's still with you because you keep her alive by continuing to love her all the time. Her spirit's now off on a brand new adventure of some description, but she'd be particularly proud of you because an awful lot of people might remember the date and then they'd forget about it and they rock on, but you keep it close to your heart and she'll be proud. I'm proud of you, so she'll be proud of you too. A lot of people fail to give credit, thought, and love to the people that brought them onto the planet in the first place. But that touched me, Ryan. I'm sorry for your loss, mate, because I know today is a special day for you. Kenny, who is working live, getting people making shapes, says, please mention a man called Robert Arthur. He watches us every week and he loves it. He met him at Madley's and he went mad about us in Madley's. I just thought I'd mention for Paul, who sent me an image of Richie Blackmore of Deep Purple doing some kind of solo. It's Richie's birthday today. Don't know whether you knew. And also Leslie sent me an image of something that all of you will probably remember if you're of a certain vintage. It was a toy cowboy gun, but you opened it up and you put this little circle of paper inside the gun and you pulled the paper out the top so that when you pulled the trigger, the firing mechanism would hit this little piece of paper and it would go boom, and it were like caps, a cap gun, bang, 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 bang. And it sounded like a real gun firing, but there were these little paper caps that would go off and you'd actually smell the burning of the explosion. And only kids of a certain age will remember them. So I don't know whether you do, but I bet some of you do. Also, oh, hang on. Oh, here we go. Here is Tony's UFO. See if you can, oh, look at this. The Pentagon have already admitted that the existence of aliens. Oh, it's gone. Bring it back.
Need to get the boys.
That is amazing. Somebody in Florida saying this is the rocket launch. I saw this from our balcony. It's the rocket launch. However, it's not moving in a way that a normal rocket would move, especially when it stopped over that community and lit up the whole place. How come it would be that low?
Did the kids come out to look? Did you see it though when it was over here? It looked so crazy. It looked like it's on fire. I don't think that's it. That sound comes from over there. That's the noise, isn't it? What the heck?
Excuse me. Look at that. Now, that very first moment before it was kind of the camera or the phone, I presume it was a phone, was jiggled about, that was amazing. And if somebody says, oh, that's just a rocket launch. Now, I've been lucky enough to be there at Cape Canaveral, Cape Kennedy, to see a rocket launch. And it's up and it's gone in moments. You don't see it coming towards you, lighting up the whole ground. You don't see that, not remotely at all. Now, I'm not saying that that's anything, because I don't know what the hell that was. But I thought that the second part of it, where it looks like it turns to the side, goes off to the side, and then disappears up. But that first part where it's over the land and it's super bright and it's lighting up all of the ground beneath it and people are freaking. What part of a launch is that? Because you got to remember, the scene of the actual launch in Florida is across wetland, and you can't get like within 100 yards of it or something. You're seeing it from almost a mile away. That's the reality of it. You're looking at it from a mile away before it starts. So it doesn't light up an entire area. And the vast majority of, in fact, nearly all launches are launched during the day. So what are they saying? That it was launched and it hung around till nighttime? A few questions there that I'd like answers to, but that's pretty good stuff. Alan, do you reckon Lees's Park or St. James's Park is haunted with it being near the old gallows? Lees's Park apparently has a couple of stories. There's a couple of stories in Lees's Park. The Gallow Gate, and I know they call it the Gallow Gate End, it's St. James's. There's a couple of people actually said that there's supposed to be a man in what's the Sir John Hall stand at the present moment. The seat, he's bought it and nobody can sit there. And every now and then when you look up at the stand, it looks like all the seats are taken. But one is bought and paid for by someone who no longer can go because they've passed over, but they've kept his seat for his ghost to sit on. Now, that's a story. I don't know if it's true, but I've heard the story. And it said that this was around the seat was first granted there around the time that I was working at St. James's Park. And it was the time of the entertainers. Kevin was the boss, Sir John Hall. I was on the tannoy hosting it. Ginola, Albert, you know, the entertainers, for heaven's sake. And it was said that when some of the footballers were, Terry Mack said to me once, I keep looking up at that empty seat and I can see him. And he knew exactly where the seat was. And I don't know whether it's true. Don't know whether that has anything. Doesn't sound like it would have anything to do with people being hanged about 150, 200 yards north of the Gallagher End, where it's actually past the Lees's End, because it's in the middle of Lees's Park where the actual gallows used to stand. So interesting. Know a couple of stories from Lees's Park. Not heard anything around there. Alan, you did some TV shows in Chillingham Castle. Why did they stop? I was filming for a TV company called Scariest Places on Earth, American company, who took me to various parts of the world. We did a year's worth of it. Then we came back, we did a second series. And then Walt Disney's company bought the television network, which was called 20th Century Fox Family Channel. They bought it, and it was just around the time that 9/11 happened. And around the time of 9/11, with so much death, the one thing that the Disney empire didn't want was shows about dead people. So they stopped the show, moved it to one side, tried to bring it back about 2 years later after the momentum had kind of gone. And by then, every country on earth had a copycat ghost show. Most Haunted had just appeared, ripping off the titles and doing something. I can't say it's the same because there's a lot of stuff about that I'm not happy with, but loads of other shows were then starting to do it. So by the time they came back to me, I did about 4 specials with them, and then started doing other stuff, because back in Britain, they asked me to go across there and just work full time with them. But I had the Night Owls, I had local TV at the time, I had the football at the time, I was writing books, and everything was kind of happening for me in Britain. So I made the decision to stay with my people, and haven't regretted it. So that's that. Right. Let me do another 1 or 2 of these. I know you've got some of Clifford's Fort as well, Tony, that we're going to go to pretty soon, but let me do 1 or 2 more. I have seen UFOs since the 1960s. Margaret Hughes. You don't look old enough, Margaret. You must have been a child when you saw your first one. Right. Get well to the supporters of South Shields Football Club on the way back from their battle with Tamworth. Their bus crashed, and I know there's been some broken bones, some broken ribs and stuff. I hope you're all okay. And I know somebody was kept in overnight as well. So get well soon. Margaret, who was already poorly, took another hit with regards to a personal relationship. In my experience, Margaret, when bad things are happening to you, loads of bad things, everything comes out the woodwork. You find out who your real friends are. You find out who you can trust. You find out if the people that purport to love you really do when the chips are down. There's more people supporting you and loving you. And if somebody close to you has proven not to be real, trash them and move on. Don't even think about it. And for the rest of you, send a bit of positive energy in Margaret's direction. She's got an awful condition, and she's lost somebody close to her who just didn't live up to the promise. And if they don't live up to the promise, they're not worth keeping. So the thing that you feel like you should value, you shouldn't, because they didn't value you enough. And you're the important one here. Andy and Richard have just got engaged. Congratulations, fellas. Dee went to see Ghostbusters on the 4DX, and she says it's like being on a roller coaster for 2.5 hours. I went to see, I think, I'm not a huge fan of the, what do you call the robots, Optimus Prime and all that, the Transformers. It was a Transformer movie. I managed to take Jen, my wife, to it, and we both universally hated the experience. It's like you got your big drink, and it's no. No. Do it once, then never do it again. That would be my advice. Time Machines sent a message saying he loves Stax Soul, Stax. So do I. Isaac Hayes, theme from Shaft was a Stax. Rufus Thomas, Evelyn Thomas, some great Stax tunes. King Curtis, great. The Rum Pot. Nicola says, I worked at the Rum Pot for 7 years when it used to be Relton's Working Men's Club. Everybody knows, and everybody who's ever worked there knows there's something in there. I was once working upstairs, and I saw the full-bodied ghost of a woman walking along the corridor, orbs flying about, absolutely hated looking after that place, opening up and closing on my own. Stevie saw the show at Lumley, says it was amazing. Thanks for the upload. You're welcome. Terry was looking at the Owls live stream. I missed the shows you did of Just Chat. I've gone to bed with your voice for decades. Don't intend to stop now. Thank you. And don't forget, get the new stuff on Robson's World. Mr. Jaffa saw the show at Newcastle's Masonic Lodge. And we got a lot at the lodge, especially up in the attic of the Newcastle Masonic Lodge. But Mr. Jaffa simply says, the stained glass was lovely. Less than ideal. Alan, this is the Worldwide Ghosts. Groat House feels incredibly haunted. The door was open when I passed by one night and I went in for a snoop. Well done. Never let a chance go by. Ocean Wave, I'm not on your Facebook page, but I'm 100% behind you guys. Thanks for everything you do. You're welcome. Julie, I love you, Alan, but I don't believe in this stuff. It's easily explained. Well, it isn't. it actually isn't. And I know I want Tony to find something that Jarapara sent us. I'm not sure he'll be able to do it tonight, but we visited a castle, and just as I was beginning the show, there were two ghost figures caught clearly behind me, and I didn't see them at the time. And had it not been for Jarapara, I don't think any of us would have known that they were there. And Tony's
if I knew the
talking-
castle name, then I would find the show, but I can't. For the life of us, I can't remember what it's called because it was a ruin, wasn't it?
It was a ruin. Send me a list of the names and I'll go through
I
them.
haven't got it. There's so many, they're all over the place. They're not in order.
I know.
So
I presume that would be the case.
It's got to jump out. I will find it. I just need the name.
Because it is one of the most vivid things. It was always my number one out of all of the things that we've done. Julie, no, that's Julie. Motorcycles. Barry says, this is more with motorcycles. Great stuff. Me and my son are really into our motorbikes, and we love the stuff that you, Kenny and Tony, do. Paul, about Ovingem. We clearly heard the Necromancer say, I wouldn't, Alan, but you did. Yeah, I usually do. Kim, about Ovingem. What a beautiful place it is. Sean in Whitby. About the Whitby show, we were in a little avenue called Arguments Yard, and there was a strange mist kind of passing over, and we couldn't explain it at the time. He says it's just a central heating boiler, probably, and that's why we see it discount 95%. It just looked odd, and because we were in the zone of looking for ghosts, we questioned everything. He says Whitby is very active, but that's just somebody's heating. I don't doubt it. And then Sean came back with another one, says, I absolutely love this channel. I can't believe I only found it a month ago, watched it constantly since. I must point out I'm a skeptic, but great work, team. Loving every episode. Thank you. Ocean Wave again says, will you do the story of Long Jack? I have briefly had the pleasure or not having been introduced to him. Sue and Val, more studio chat. Nobody does it like you. Loving Robson's work. Thank you. Now, this thing about Long Jack. Let me just quickly move on to Long Jack. The Slender Man. Now, that's what Long Jack is, if it's the Long Jack that they're referring to. The Slender Man has been a mythical, magical, ghostly kind of figure. You see a long, tall, thin man in woodland, or you see them in the shadows of buildings. And the stories differ depending which country you're in, because the Slender Man is American, but it's based on a British story. And there's the French have got a version of it, and the Spanish too. So it depends which route, and it's a much bigger story than you'd think. But the interesting and horrible thing, in America, over the last couple of weeks, and I think it's coming to court in a couple of months, two 12-year-old little girls took an 11-year-old girl into the woods, told her to lie down, and then they stabbed her 49 times, stabbed her to death as an offering to the Slender Man. Now, that's happening now. So it just goes to show these are 12-year-olds. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. And also, Langjack, and I don't know, Tony, I don't know whether you're with me. If you are, can you come back to me just briefly for a second?
Yeah.
You are a Wickham person.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen the statue of Langjack? Wickham High Street.
No, don't think so. In the village?
Yes. He was 6'4". His name was Jack English. He was actually known as the Tyneside Samson. He lived in the 1800s, 6'4". And they've got his head and shoulders on a gate leading into a little housing estate.
Oh, I'm going to have to look.
And also, Clifford's Fort. Now, I know we're coming to in fact, we're in the halfway mark. Are we?
We are.
Cutting stream? We are.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to keep watching, we've got Clifford's Fort, some footage of a little bit of knockabout we ended up doing because it started a bucket with rain. And
Mike got soaked. That was the thing, so it wiped them out.
So we ended up in a car
try.
with Suki. And Suki's our little gadget that reacts on 4 different wavelengths. and we set Suki up in the car parked in Clifford's Fort, and you can see that after we take a break. But if you're not a supporter, if you're not a regular, we've still got a ton of stuff to talk to you about, and a batch of photos of alienness from all over the world, and some of it's amazing. Ancient dead bodies. What's the oldest in the world? You'll see the second oldest in photograph that Tony's got. We've got a few more clips to come as well, because we're going to be taking a look back at a couple of our other shows. But
I will find that castle. I just don't know what it was called.
Well, I think the ones we can discount are the ones that we recognize, and we've got to look for the ones that we don't and have a quick look, because when we were there at the very beginning,
3 years worth. It's quite a long list.
No, I know, and it takes a bit of a shovel to dig through them. But I was just starting the show, and we got into it, and the second half was a disaster for us, because we ended up walking to somewhere and we couldn't get to the place we wanted to be. It was a nightmare.
It's the one with the cows.
Yeah, it was cows and stuff and fields. But when the Jarapara sent us the original capture of the beginning of our own show, and we saw what was there, it was clearly spirit. Directly behind me, 2 of them. Amazing. So we will get that at some point. But we're going to open up our second half. If you will become a supporter, that would be tremendous. It's about 80 pence a week. It's a note. If you'd want to come with us, and you instantly get all of the other shows, 3 years worth of shows, and all you got to do is what Tony tells you next.
Yes,
how do they do it?
There's a link in the description in the comments now of YouTube or Facebook. So just click that link and then click part 2, and then it'll tell you how to become a supporter if you're not. But if you're a supporter, you can also click the link, and that's where the video will be. So
just click the link, support us. If you're not a supporter, become a supporter, and you get the second half immediately, and you'll get all of the other shows that we've ever done. Yeah. So that sounds like a pretty good bargain to me. So I'll catch you on the other side. So I've got to close down and then open back up again. So, but we will be back in less than 5 minutes. So don't go anywhere. Okay, we'll catch you on the other side.